Hey, what's up guys, and today I'm going to be giving you a brand new series. However, first of all, as I had told you guys about the cancellation, there are currently 3 what ifs that I am looking at the moment. What if Naruto was Kaguya Forgotten Son? What if Naruto had a godly forbidden bloodline? And what if Naruto had a OP bloodline and brutally trained by Danzo? So at the moment, this is going to be taking one of them. Tomorrow I'll be telling you which one of them that this is going to be taking, guys. And yeah, I'm gonna be replacing those old what ifs that you guys don't seem to like with new ones that I'll be posting, guys. So yeah, just sit back, relax, and I hope you guys enjoy each of them. So tomorrow you'll be getting which one is gonna be cancelled. And yeah, I'm gonna be posting new ones to make sure you guys stay entertained and canceling the ones that you guys seem to hate. So for now, I'm gonna be giving you a brand new series. What if Naruto was neglected by his mother for his younger sister, guys? Part 1. If you enjoy seeing one see part 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Making family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And yeah, without further ado, would you say begin this new episode, wasting more time? Begin now, guys. Lightning streak, the midnight sky as howling rain battered off the glass window. The dismal weather provided a perfect sense for the events that will happen tonight. A streak of light in the sky illuminated the place, showing a single person at his desk, using a lamp to illuminate the papers that he was looking through. This man was Minato Namikaze, the 4th Hokage, the Hokage of Konoha, and probably the greatest Kage in history. This man has been through a lot in his lifetime. He had fought and killed an entire army, including their most powerful shinobi with a single jutsu. He had faced and sealed the mightiest beast in the elemental nation, the Kyuubi. With the assistance of the Hokage that came before him, he had trapped the beast in the body of his own daughter. Many in this village now consider her to be their savior. Tonight, however, he had to make a big decision. A decision that concerned a cornerstone of their village strength, and thereby their key to peace. This person, one of those persons that kept Konoha as the greatest of the big 5, could be a traitor. Worst of all, it might mean that his eldest son was implicated, potentially. Minato could never understand his eldest child. His shinobi record was impeccable, and his way of working and dealing with the lifestyle of being born to kill was always one of a professional even from the beginning. However, there was also the fact that he was an apprentice to the possible traitor Minato was waiting final judgment on. Minato was proud of his son. He was a shining role model as a shinobi, a top class ninja, a master of all the arts. The problem was he never really understood him. He never truly figured him out as a person. In the beginning, Naruto Namikaze was a happy child. Minato had been forced to leave most of Naruto's upbringing to his mother due to his responsibilities within the village. Still, he found time when he could for the cheerful boy. Then their wonderful daughter Kimiko came a few short years later, and life couldn't have been greater. Then that damn piece of calamity and destruction had come across their peaceful village. The battle was horrific with the fox. Their great power, the one that nearly destroyed the Hidden Stone, a mere few years ago, had been impotent against the unstoppable rage. Many shinobis, come rest their soul, lost their life, even the late 3rd Hokage, as he used his life to seal the beast away inside of Minato's daughter. After that, a lot had changed. The scar upon their happy family life was oblivious to even the most observant shinobis. Kushina had to dote on their daughter, who was now taking up the mantle as the jinchuuruki of Konoha. And Naruto, he never showed any jealousy on his part. He only retreated to his father's study. The boy hadn't understand what was going on and only latched on to a praise that Minato said a long time ago about knowledge. the value of knowledge. At only 6 years old, he started looking through the books, desperately trying to comprehend them. It would have been impressive, even awe-inspiring, if it wasn't so terrifying. The boy had shown a deep mania about it, eating and sleeping only when he was forced to, and with Kushina, so obsessed with tending to her daughter's every last need. Naruto had been forgotten. Minato had been working around the clock, and Kushina could not bring herself to let go of her daughter even for a second. All the while Naruto faded away, until there was an offer from an unlikely source. Minato scribbled his signature down on another piece of paper as he dropped the quill. He leaned back in his chair as he thought about the choices that he had made in life. So much choices that led to nothing but regret. Hokage-sama, as the man jumped a bit, surprised by being taken off guard like that, as he straightened himself up. As he looked up, "Report, son," he said. The owner of the voice took a while to answer. That was not a good sign. Minato felt worry at that. His son never hesitated. Minato could only see a bad omen to how the weather was outside. As the windows rattled with a howling wind, nature itself seemed to be building up towards a crescendo. "It is confirmed, Hokage-sama," Naruto replied within the darkness like a disembodied voice. Minato could not feel his suppressed chakra at all. It was like a ghost was in the room. "Shishao, Orochimaru-sama is a traitor." The worst possible conclusion had come to be as Minato placed both elbows on the table, as he released a groan. With this revelation, it meant that his son was potentially a traitor as well. "What proof do you have?" he asked silently. "I've located a number of laboratories this morning while monitoring him that I never knew existed. And inside..." His son's voice wavered for a moment as he seemed to take a breath. "Inside the work of a madman was evident, Hokage-sama. A number of psychotic experiments, many of them done on human beings. Midarashi-san was with me as a witness. Hokage-sama, he must be stopped. My master or not, something like that cannot be allowed to continue." Minato released a breath that he did not know he was even holding when he heard that Uncle Midarashi, the oldest apprentice of the two, was there to witness it along with his son. She was notorious for falling out with her master a couple years ago. The split was well known in general, as Uncle was reliable in this manner. "Is he fleeing?" asked Minato. Preparing to Hokage-sama, "I requested the Envoy team, Midarashi-san and myself, be deployed to pursue and incapacitate him as soon as possible." As Minato allowed his head to shoot up into the darkness, as he clapped his hand to turn on the lights to a flickering burn, his son's long, blonde locks, cut like his master, but it was pinned up into a ponytail, came in view. It contrasted with the pale, white flesh that was a normal pink until God knows what treatment Naruto had confirmed to undergo. A stern yet smooth teenager face looked back at him, but there was still some torn emotion in those eyes. Eyes that were slitted like his master's. His forehead protector seated on his forehead, keeping his hair out of his face. A loose-fitting white shirt that was held around him by a white sash. Said sash had a cloth hanging down the side, with the Uzumaki swirl in orange on it. Maroon pants, down to his black sandals. His hands were hidden behind his back in attention. As Minato searched for anything in hesitation of relating for him to hunt down his master, however, he found none. His son's duty was to his village first, a noble, if detached ideology, concerning his human life, considering that he was only 19 years old. He thought like his master, he thought of the big picture, and the man's obsessive nature to gather more knowledge, more power, more means of being a little bit better than before. It did not stop Minato. He was used to seeing the uncaring looks on a killer's face, and he was still bothered by how calm his own flesh and blood was being at a time like this. "Are you sure about going yourself? I can easily assign Uncle-san the leadership of the mission," said Minato. Naruto did not react. He only stood still as a statue, rather unsettling for what was just said. Minato was equally unnerved and also proud that his son could keep his composure in a time like this. "I am the best to deal with him. Midarashi-san will tell you herself out of both apprentices. I am the best out of the two. She's competent, very much so, but I am superior, both in jutsu, in combat, tactics, and sheer power. What more, I am the one that has ventured deep into master's research. And I understand how he thinks, Hokage-sama. Minato thought to himself about how Naruto never called him father nowadays. He hadn't done so for years. However, at the time that was irrelevant. The leader of Konoha weighed his options, trying to find suitable members for a hit squad and the captain. With the time crunch that they were in, hunting down Orochimaru was probably the most difficult task in the village. The Anbu commander Itachi Uchiha had offered Naruto a place in the Anbu Black Ops several times. That said something, that the Uchiha prodigy would make such an offer. Say that he rated Naruto above pretty much everyone else in the Anbu at the moment. Perhaps even above Kakashi Hatake. The latter, Kakashi, Minato right-hand man, former student, was currently on another assignment in the border of Kumo. It seems he had no choice. But he hated the idea of putting his son up against his own teacher and a Sanin. But he has no other choice. Approve, he said. Take Squad 17 and I will have Jiraiya send your way as soon as possible. You have permission to kill, but I would prefer if you took him alive for interrogation. Leave the location of the bases on my secretary Dex. Yes, Hokage-sama, Naruto said as he started to move out. As Minato only had time to give him a few last words. Be careful. As he never got the chance to reply, Minato sat back in his chair as he looked over the village. The place he had spent most of his life protecting. Too little said and actions that he wished could change dominate his thoughts. Time skip. Dashing through the trees in the forest, Naruto Namikaze approached where he said he would meet his master. Barely 30 minutes ago, he organized his squad for the upcoming attack. Training Ground 79. The grass-covered field with sandy soil. The grass sparkling a bit, illuminated by the rain, with the dying streaks of lightning cast straight in them. This has once upon a time been the Sanin training field back when he was much younger. It was ironic considering what will come to pass here today. Orochimaru was the only one amongst them that still used this place to teach or to train. Under the inky cloudy sky, now the lightning was finished. Naruto could sense his master chakra signature to the south of him. As Naruto stopped moving at top speed, as he entered into a brisk pace. Well, Naruto-kun, Orochimaru's voice spoke up, always with that playful tone. What is the news? Shishao, said Naruto. The Hokage has figured out that you're responsible for Yamato-senpai and the official Bloodline Babies experiment. He listened for a reaction as he smirked to himself, knowing that he could not be seen within the darkness, as he was rewarded with a quiet snake-like hiss. He also seemed to have worked out the connection between the labs in the Fire Country outskirts and you. Of course, that was only the ones that Naruto had reported back to the Hokage. There were plenty more that Naruto had failed to mention, like example where Shishao had hidden the hard copies for his notes. Those old underground station of route did come in handy, especially when even the second Hokage was kept in the dark when Danzo had constructed them many years ago. That was of course before the Uchiha police and the rest of the Anvus had walked into them and slaughtered every single root member who refused to surrender when the order was given from the fourth Hokage. Those tunnels went so far underground that no one heard the battles. Danzo, the treasonous master of roots who had performed countless bloody deeds, motivated by a dangerous kind of loyalty to Konoha, had been killed by Itachi Uchiha. As Naruto stood there waiting for a response, the silence was uncomfortable. Orochimaru began to leak killer intent out of sheer frustration. I must leave, Orochimaru said. As Naruto knew that this would be the outcome, he might have hidden his fear. However, Orochimaru was not the type to die for his belief. I will go first to our main hub in the sound, and then 2 days later you will follow with all of my data. As Naruto smirked in the darkness. This was going just as planned. One more push. He could barely sense Anko coming in from behind, and he was struggling to do so. So his master, who did not know who precisely to look for, would not even notice her. She was already briefed about the situation and knew that she had to make the Anbu team wait further back and let his act play through. Her poisonous hatred of the Sanin made her see nothing but Naruto's point of view. I'm sorry, master. Naruto's voice spoke softly. This was going to be the climax after months of carefully planning, flawless facade of turmoil, loyalty, anxiety. balancing the pain of knowing that his master was a suspect, and his devotion to Konoha. He was standing here now though, at the end of it all and all, came to a complete circle. Just a few more minutes of acting. What do you mean? Orochimaru asks. His voice was calm, however under that there was a bit of a hiss that his master only used when he was about to slaughter something. The man barely had time to finish his words before Naruto struck. Drawing his sword, Naruto moved forward and he was inside of Orochimaru's guard within a split second. With a furious swing, he sent his blade towards Orochimaru's gut. Orochimaru threw himself backwards as he snarled with anger. However, Naruto was upon him within seconds once again. Blinding slashes and stabs, each of them being barely avoided by Orochimaru. It was after 30 seconds as he was able to get loose. He summoned his own blade in his hand and gripped it tightly. When he landed, Naruto was upon him and their blade clashed, sparks flying. I have not been on your side since. I discovered your true nature, Naruto hissed. The Sannin stared back towards the apprentice, his teeth gritted, his muscles trembling. Then a cruel, mocking laughter filled the air. It was laced with so much killer intent. The old snake had been triggered to bloodthirst. It was too late to step back. So you finally made your move, Naruto-kun. I knew that you would do it eventually. Your hunger is even greater than mine. Your lies won't help you now, Shishao. Just surrender and let's get this over with. Never! The Sannin surprised Naruto by not going into a monologue. Instead, he just launched forward and twisted his wrist, sending Naruto's sword flying before his palm flew towards Naruto's chin. As Naruto dodged it by twisting his neck in a strange way that was not only superhuman, but also unnatural. As Naruto returned fire with two fingers aiming for the eyes. For nearly 5 minutes, the apprentice and the master clashed violently in pure Hebai-style taijutsu. The blonde and the raven-haired ninja timed their movements perfectly to aim for vital spots. Punches that target the temple of the head. Fingers that stretch the gouged eyes. Strikes that aim for pressure and tenketsu points. The style was all about incapacitating and killing through the weakest parts of the body. As Naruto was eventually forced back by a kick to the chest, taking the air out of his lungs. His cheek was slashed by a follow-up attack meant to blind him. This was pointless. There was no more to gain from this. Orochimaru would not leak any more information. As Naruto redistributed the chakra to his feet and pushed himself back to gain some ground. Already winded Naruto-kun, Orochimaru gloated as Naruto landed a few feet away. Still, Orochimaru's blood was also on Naruto's hands, so he had to be wounded as well. I trained you to master Hebai, something that not even Uncle Chan could do. It was supposed to teach you how to fight in the dark. Have I been negligent in my training of you? Was I too hasty to declare you competent? As Naruto did not answer, instead, he blurred through hand signs before he inhaled. He then proceeded to exhale a gigantic fireball that was pure white. The entire area lit up as the flame incinerated everything in its path, melting down the trees, burning rocks, scorching the ground badly. Orochimaru, who got past it, looked even more evil as the bonfire flickered behind him. His green shirt was torn in many areas, his pale cheeks were tainted and slashed, and on his higher torso there was a gash. He had slipped underground once the fireball was gone. He simply pulled himself back out. It was a nice thing to do to make other weaker opponents believe that you just walk right through their blasts. However, he was not fighting any normal people, he was fighting his own apprentice. Naughty, naughty apprentice, Orochimaru said. Incinerating your master is a bad way to show your gratitude, Naruto-kun. Even with his gloating, Orochimaru's black locks were smoldering, to show that he wasn't as prepared as he was claiming to be. As Naruto knew exactly what to do now, and that was to keep up the momentum. His master could talk a priest into selling his own soul. As Naruto created a clone without even hand signs, as he leaped up in the air. His clone breathed out a gigantic wind blast that shredded the area as Naruto spewed out a fireball from above. When the fire came in contact with the wind, it became devastating. Orochimaru was not capable of forming hand signs, as he had to use his hand to shield himself from debris that fire around everywhere. It seems that this time he was swallowed up by the fire. Nearby Anko had nearly broken her cover by cheering prematurely, as the Anbu team was right behind her, quietly as possible. They were all waiting for the moment that Naruto would need them. However, Naruto was no fool. He knew that Orochimaru was not killed by that attack. The moment his feet touched the ground, a blade burst right through it. It was only Naruto's quick reflex that got him to turn, as a blade stabbed his shoulder. Leaning back as Naruto was falling, poof! A seal in the middle of his palm released 24 shurikens. With a grateful twist as Naruto twirled, he launched all of them towards his master. Before they got there though, Naruto created a hand sign, as those 24 turned into thousands and rained across the battlefield. Orochimaru clashed against any that came near him with his Kusanagi blade. It had been the ambition of Naruto to one day inherit that blade from Orochimaru and examine the poison that came from it. Him himself has been immune to the poison ever since he signed the contract and finalized it with Manda. As Naruto used his preoccupied timing to cover him as he threw his free arm towards his blade, a green snake shot from Naruto's sleeve and grabbed the hilt of his blade and yanked it back towards him as Naruto caught it. As Naruto's left hand ran across his right, 4 kunais with explosive tags appear. As he threw them all in a square around his master who just finished deflecting all the shurikens. As he lighted their fuse with chakra, the explosion was deafening. It shook the ground. It made everything in several kilometers shook violently. As Naruto jumped backwards, as the shockwave spread through the entire area. When the smoke cleared, there was only a gigantic hole. As Naruto leaned against a tree, it then came a blade. So fast, however, Naruto's instincts kicked into overdrive. He parried the blade as he quickly twists and used a tree and gripped it to throw himself backwards. He channeled chakra along his blade and swiped, unleashing a violent gust of wind that tore right towards his master. Orochimaru slipped some blood right onto his thumbs as he flashed the one-handed seals. The result was 2 giant purple serpents around 20 feet tall. The attack bounced off one of them and decimated the ancient trees that were created by the first Hokage. As the snakes attacked, as Naruto was flanked from both sides, as Orochimaru attacking from the front. The blonde waited until they jumped forward as he jumped and slashed at the left one's eyes. The snake hissed out in pain as blood poured down. As Naruto stabbed his blade in the tree, he then used it as he bounced, throwing himself towards his master, sending out a snake out of his wrist to pull it out of the tree and clash with Orochimaru once again. "Surrender," said Naruto through clenched teeth. "It's over, one way or another for you." How confident Naruto can yet. It's only bravado. Your time of being on top of this battlefield is over. As Orochimaru tried to smack him over the head, however, Naruto released a serpent from his sleeve. However, the snake saw him, caught it and crushed it. As Naruto felt himself being yanked forward, right into the path of the Kusanagi. Crimson splashed over his eyes as it punctured. He dropped his blade as he felt the burn. He flashed through hand signs as he slammed his hand into the ground. The ground became loose as it shook, as Orochimaru lost his balance, the sword sliding out of Naruto's shoulder. As Naruto saw his chance and flashed through hand sign before he slammed his hand down, as he stole a massive chunk of loose soil out of the ground. He threw it at his Sannin and without thinking he flashed through another set of hand sign, as he unleashed another small fireball that lit the grass. The gigantic bomb that was crashing down like a meteor lit the ground and exploded, covering everything in a gigantic wall of dust. As Naruto fell back and examined his sword wound, its genetic manipulation cell structure was already on work as he started to stitch it back together. As he needed his master to attack, he needed a final push. He then spoke. Hokage Sama knew about the hidden sound. He wasn't telling the truth though. The small village that his master had gathered mutants and rogues scientists was one of the more attractive prizes that Naruto had set his sights on. "You filthy traitor," Orochimaru hissed. "You will suffer for this, Naruto." There was no Naruto-kun, no honorific, as Naruto knew that Orochimaru was pissed. A massive gust of wind knocked Naruto over as a snake ripped out of the ground and trapped him by the waist. However, Naruto exploded as he was replaced by a block of upturned earth, as a perfect pair of shurikens launched right in the snake's eyes, blinding it. As Naruto took his blade and thrust it down into the snake, ending it, a casualty of 2 feuding summoner of its contract. Orochimaru was gone. Suddenly the world turned into a hazy purple. The people that he cared about was dead at his feet. Kimiko, with her fiery red locks, lay beside her mother Kushina, dead. The Hokage, His father lay dead with Irish kunais thrust through him. He had seen enough when Rin, the brunette, medical ninja of his father Genin team, seemingly held onto his feet and cursed him with her eyes. "Using genjutsu," said Naruto. "How unfitting of a monster like you, Shishao. I expected something more than what a Genin could pull off." With enough chakra, he formed a single seal as the genjutsu was shrugged off. As Naruto spun just in time, as the Kusanagi passed right by him, as he swung his elbow right towards Orochimaru's throat, as it slammed into the man's throat. However, Orochimaru quickly elongated his neck as he bared his fangs. However, he was too slow on the acting. Raising his head like that was a recipe for disaster as Naruto gouged out one of his eyes. Orochimaru reared back with his neck flying back like a whip. Nothing in his modified body could remove the pain of a lost eye. Orochimaru gripped his bleeding face, holding on to his Kusanagi with his other hand. As Naruto removed his shirt, the 2 stabs that he got was barely bleeding. His toned torso already had the signs of previous battle, and now his Shishao had added wound to him as well. Orochimaru was huffing and puffing. His stamina was depleted from being unaccustomed to injury, and his breathing was way off. His chest raised faster than it should have done, and soon the blonde was forming a plan, as he could use that technique as he looked towards his unassuming Chokito. He could use that other one too, but how? He needed a moment, so he would have to create one. As Naruto created a simple academy level clone with no seals as it dashed towards his master from left. He evaded and shifted between them as Naruto went in for the attack as well, going for Orochimaru's good eye. As they twist and shift between one another, Orochimaru fell for the bait as he sent an armful of snakes down towards the clone as it vanished. As Naruto sliced, a blade of wind arcading from his weapon. Orochimaru dived as he rolled, with one hand to push himself back up. His sleeve unleashed another army of snakes. However, Naruto threw his blade in the air and flashed through hand sign. He spat out a line of mud that grew into a solid wall of earth. The snakes fell right into it, hook, line, and sinker. The wall became a dome as it entrapped them. As Naruto flipped and landed on top of the wall as his blade landed right in the soil. Orochimaru did not bother to hide his ire at the treatment that he was suffering at the moment. His gouged eyeball was now revealed. It was nothing but a hole. Blood flowed freely. Earth, fire, and wind jutsu. Orochimaru laughed out loud, hiding his agony terribly. Glimmers of insanity bursting out. "You always fought too cautiously, like you never listened to me. You think you're my equal, but I know you better than you think. Now, you will pay the price for your betrayal, you two-faced whelp." The Sannin laughed devilishly to himself, and Naruto knew exactly what was coming. He made a hand sign to the group that came to back him up to retreat, as his master flicked some blood from his eye, as he built up a large amount of chakra and flash through hand sign before he brought his hand down. Poof! Manda, the king of snakes, rose up. His immense size and presence being here was calculated on Naruto's part for his final assault. Hopefully it will be over soon. "Why have you summoned me, Orochimaru?" he asks. "Kill Namikaze," Orochimaru ordered. "No," said Manda as he swatted a snake towards the Sannin. Orochimaru leaped over it as he landed. "Why not?" "Did you just yell at me, human?" said Manda with a hiss. "You have no tribute, and you asked me to kill. The one that will one day replace you in your body finally gives away. He has turned his back on me for power and for information," Orochimaru yelled. "He's a coveter of knowledge and has betrayed me to steal what is mine. Filthy traitors who play me are dead to me." As Naruto could not sense the Anbu team or Anko right now, that was good. They were gone and no one could question his story now, as Orochimaru was doing what he did best, talking. As Naruto started to gather his chakra and focus his breathing. "It is the law of nature, master. One must devour another to survive, and today I will eat what is yours, to further my goal of becoming the greatest shinobi of them all. To do this, you need to die. Isn't that what you taught me?" Naruto said. Manda hissed in approval. "He at least remembered the laws of the snake," said Manda. "Perhaps you should practice what you preach, Orochimaru. Now goodbye, and thank you for letting me see you one last time, before you die." As he swiped after him once again, Orochimaru jumped in the cloud of dust that the snake made once it poofed away. The moment had come, time to kill a Sannin and destroy the last of the evidence that he played both sides of the village. As Naruto ran, chakra down the hilt of his blade. As he ran, his blood down it as well. Black seals start to form all over it. Fuinjutsu started to glow all over until it was done. I better keep up with Manda-sama wishes, said Naruto, as Orochimaru grit his teeth. As Naruto leaped forward, Orochimaru moved and blocked Naruto's blade. Naruto landed on his feet as he shifted his foot in and knocked his sensei blade upwards. As the Kusanagi went sailing into the sky, Naruto drive his blade in Orochimaru's leg and form a single hand sign. As Naruto jumped back and slipped underground, the explosion was similar to what he did earlier. However, it was at least 10 times more destructive. The cavern he made underneath the ground held up as he held his hand to the ceiling, as he felt the shockwave violently hitting it over and over and over again, until he was sure as he dug himself out. Everything was gone, trees were still burning, the ground was blackened and dark. As Naruto raised one hand to cover his mouth, as he stumbled up to where Orochimaru had been. As he eventually found the epicenter of the blast, his master being nowhere to be seen, only the Kusanagi remained. The blade was jutting out of the ground, without a scratch. As if some strange quirk of fate, something landed right next to Naruto. As Naruto turned to look at it, it was almost amusing turned out to be his master's head. The head must have been torn off by the detonation and flung into the sky. As Naruto picked it up by the hair, as he looked into the eyes, the missing one, and the one remaining, there was no life there. It had lost its insane glow, and the head was torn off at the start of the neck, leaving the underside devastating. Thus it ended, said Naruto. Had you hoped for more, I wonder? I will admit, it was rather anticlimactic. With that, he felt silent as he discarded the head after a while, as he walked over and picked up a legendary blade. This was one of the prizes that he wanted, a masterful, created blade, as valuable as a minor nation and as deadly as an army. As Naruto dropped to his knees at last, as he finally examined his wounds, there was nothing too bad that happened to him. They were deep, but they were at least close, and that was a good thing. He just needed to get Rin to heal him up and check his vitals, and he'll be good in a few days or so. The real challenge started now as he could sense his envoy team, along with Anko, as he had to get along with his plan. Orochimaru's Sannin data was important to retrieve. Next was convincing the village not to restrict Ishinobi license, to keep him within Konoha perimeter. It will put him back months as he'll be analyzing over and over again by the Interrogation Bureau. He had to play his position as Hokage's son to the maximum. Naruto! Anko blurred next to him. She had this rare, concerned look on her face, and also a shit-eating grin. Her eyes were watering from happiness, whether she was pleased that he survived, or knowing that she would have died fighting their master. Are you alright? She asked. Some minor wounds, maybe a few broken ribs, but I can't be sure. It's my dull pain receptor. Anko nodded, but she did not really understand. Her parents had still been alive in her first few years of apprenticeship with Orochimaru, and they banned him from messing with her physiology. Later in life, it could not be done because her body lost what it needed when it was much younger. However, Naruto was able to convince his mother that the alterations were all part of an apprenticeship, and she reluctantly agreed. Namikaze-sama, a woman with purple hair and a cat mask, landed next to the other side. Her team flickered in a moment later and formed a protective circle around him. We'll report back into the Hokage. Anything else you want us to tell him? Report to the fort that the mission is complete. The traitor is dead. I will be there shortly. Have Rin report to me. She's aware of my medical needs. Can you handle a Sunshin, Namikaze-sama? A young male with a boar mask sat down next to him as he started to perform medical ninjutsu until Naruto waved him off. It is just first aid. It will have no effect, said Naruto. My body has been altered normal. Medical jutsu are useless. Rin-san is about the only one that understands my physiology. As Naruto pulled on Anko's wrist with his bloody hand, as he waved his Kusanagi at her, as she understands as she poured chakra into the blade, as Naruto commanded the blade to shrink down to the size of a kodiki, as he stored it away. Just then a large toad, orange, packing a Nodiki style blade landed down in the center of the clearing where Orochimaru lay dead. The old man that was standing on top of him was late as usual. Only his sister godfather Kakashi Hatake was as tardy as the man that just showed up. But he was a Sanin still, and he was his godfather. The look of remorse aimed towards the blonde was not completely unexpected. The man and the dead Sanin until recent times had been extremely close. Jiraiya had used Orochimaru as his confidant until Orochimaru took training Naruto and Mikaze so seriously that the both of them really were far apart from the other one. As Naruto put on a neutral face, "Jiraiya-sama," he said, his eyes colder than ice. He knew that his godfather was conflicted. The man leapt off the toad and moved next to him. Anko was already ready to spring into action. "How did he die?" said Jiraiya. The man was torn up inside, that was to be sure. His eyes were filled with grief. Such things Orochimaru taught Naruto. They were going to be irresponsible the moment he began his training. Those emotions. Mourn in private, not on a job. That was something he did not understand until the Elder Snake brought him towards their first mission near Kumi no Kuno, where the 10-year-old Naruto had to slaughter a whole village of bandits. "Do you have to ask that now?" Uncle snapped. The toad Sanin nodded as his toad poofed away. "I want to know how he died." Jiraiya looked towards the debris around them. "What kind of jutsu does this?" "A seal," said Naruto, with a little croak as some blood came from his mouth. It seems his injuries were a lot more serious than he thought. The Sanin seemed agitated at his answer. "A high-yield explosive placed on my blade. I stabbed it into his leg. There's only pieces left of him now. If you wish to see, his head should be over there." The silent Sanin moved as he picked up Naruto with one hand, as he brought him to his feet. A snake shot past Naruto's neck from behind, and bared its fang at Jiraiya. "Was there no other way?" Jiraiya asked, as Naruto remained impassive. "There were, but this was the safest option." The Sanin trembled before he punched Naruto right across the face, as a snake from Anko lashed out. However, Naruto reached and grabbed it, as he shook his head, stopping the snakes in his tracks. "Enough," he whispered. "It's a bad time for both of us now, despite what Shisho has done. He was important to both me and Jiraiya-sama." "Stand down," said Naruto. His legs then gave out on him. Damn it, he thought. "I've lost too much chakra." "Hey, uncle, if you could." She stopped glaring at Jiraiya before she moved towards Naruto and sunshined him away. Moments later, Naruto hit the floor from the sunshin as he spat up more blood. "Naruto!" Rin said in shock as she rushed over towards him, making sure he made eye contact with her. His eyes were a tad blurry, but it was no doubt her. The purple stripes on both of her cheeks were unmistakable to him. As she quickly produced acupuncture needles and stabbed them into his pressure points, immediately he felt better and he was soon leaning into the protective embrace of Anko from behind. As Naruto realized that the territory marking has begun once again, and he was too tired to even put up with it as the two women glared at one another. "He's hurt, so be careful," Anko snapped, telling a medical kunoichi of Rin caliber was a slap to the face. She merely started to mumble things under her breath, saying that cellular regeneration will have to be slowed down. Time skip. The fourth Hokage looked absolutely exhausted. His mother seemed uncertain as she stood there. He and his mother was not on the best of terms. That was a mild way of putting it, and she seemed uncertain about what to do. His father himself plus the two elders, Homura and Koharu, people who could have retired after the third died 12 years ago, were too stubborn as they were there waiting. "Report," said Minato. "Hokage-sama." As Naruto noticed the elders eyeing him suspiciously as he got to his feet. They were probably eyeing the Kusanagi that was stored in his vest. "I eliminate Orochimaru per instructed if I was unable to bring him back alive. I request that his remains are moved to the Konoha Research Institution. They should be studied, if nothing else, to map out the full extent of my own modification." "Approve. It's not like he got a family to claim the body," Minato said, ignoring Homura who tried to protest. "Go to the medical center and get rested up. I will officially appoint you Director of the Research and Development Division tomorrow morning." As Naruto took a breath after so long, he was finally in control. "I most humbly accept, Hokage-sama." He wasn't clear yet, so he kept his answer respectful. His mother smiled even if the old bats beside her did not. "Go get some rest. You can resume your duty when you can," said Minato. "I will summon you soon to discuss the best course of action regarding your master bases." The fourth Hokage walked right into Naruto's trap. The council members had stand down and look sheepish just as usual. His father was not really tolerant of them, and he did not associate with them outside of work. He was not like the third. "Thank you," said Naruto, his voice and demeanor as calm as usual. Time skip. The slow dripping water outside became a background as Naruto looked toward the spacious underground cavern. It was a large room filled with vats, tables, diagrams, and countless other samples of research for scientific advancement. A single red light panel in the ceiling illuminated the room and gave it a hellish glow. As Naruto quietly moved through the laboratory and checked the equipment, it did not take him long. This chamber was used to him, so he could tell after nearly 5 use of no one using it, it was still in good condition. While some of the pipes to the vlogs were a bit clogged and there was some dust, it was still in good shape. It did awake some memories inside of him. This place had been one of the first places Orochimaru showed him while he was his apprentice. Only 6 years old at the time, Naruto had been introduced to the world of science, biology, chemistry, physics, ninjutsu, seals, such as physiology, and psychology as well. Orochimaru showed it all to him, as Naruto made a list of all the chemicals he need to make a well-stacked laboratory. As he wrote down everything he remembered the first time that he had been brought here. At the time of his apprenticeship, he had been a sad and confused child. The incident with the Kyuubi and imprisonment in his sister had thrown his life into chaos. His father had hardly been home, and his mother had thrown her whole focus on little Kimiko. The whole debacle had made her violently protective of her daughter, as Naruto had been slipped between the chaos and forgotten about in a sense. His mother didn't have time for him, and he also did not want to be a bother. So instead he went to his father's studies. As he began to read, everything that happened was confusing and strange to Naruto, and he started to believe there must be a good reason to why his mother doesn't even notice him anymore. For months he hid in there, reading everything he came across, as it took her months to even notice that he never left the study only to eat, and even then. As Naruto completed the list, once it was done, he shut off the lights. He left the room. He closed the door by a secret lock as the wall slipped back into place, looking like nothing at all was there. As he started to walk across the water, Orochimaru offered back then to take him in. Hadn't been one that Naruto was happy about. The snake had scared him back then, yet he had offered Naruto knowledge. He had told him a lot, how the seal on Kimiko's stomach worked, how it had caged the demon, how it separates it into yin and yang chakra components. As Naruto had only understood parts of it though. When Orochimaru was done, he smiled once more and asked him a question that remained with him until this day. "Do you want to understand?" That was the question, as Naruto had accepted without hesitation. And the old snake had been like water to a thirsty throat. Even if he was not loving or caring, he was nurturing and stimulating. Orochimaru had pushed him to the physical limit through intensive studying, puzzles, hints, made to trick and deceive him for him to realize that he had to look beyond what was even there. Mental and physical training, Orochimaru turned him into a copy of himself. Orochimaru expected obedience to never be shaken within Naruto, and the skills that he had pumped into him to make him an exceptional person. Naruto was a genin by 8, Chunin by 10, Jonin by 13. Only the genius child, Itachi Uchiha, was his peer back then. As Naruto came to a flight of stairs as he made his way up, unlike his Uchiha peer, Naruto's successes had been hidden, even from his parents. As Orochimaru teach him things that shocked many people, as he was also able to create seals that would regrow even if the limb was damaged. His father had been intelligent enough to see how valuable those were, as Naruto had showed them off at his Jonin exams. However, his father could not understand the mechanics behind them. To Minato, it was a tool to be used, and Naruto had gotten a pat on the shoulder and the rank of Jonin for it. That was the moment he started to become loose under Konoha lead. They dismissed his things like they were nothing but mere objects to be discarded and used in the battlefield. His science, or more than that, the unraveling on mankind history, what has been plaguing mankind throughout ages, the understanding of the world around them, the understanding of reality itself. Most people in Konoha did not care about that. However, Naruto was not like his master, believing that this was reason for betrayal. He knew where his loyalty lay, and they were with Konoha. The fact that he saw knowledge as something with value, and in itself was not enough reason for him to betray his village. The cost was far too high and the game would only be a delusional one. As he pushed open the door and came through a small cramped room filled with tools. Grabbing a bag of takeout food, Naruto made his way as he pushed open another door, and he came through an alley in the sideway in the middle of Konoha. The day was bright and sunny, birds singing and chirping, the weather perfect. Still, the fact that Naruto would not betray Konoha didn't mean that he couldn't salvage his now dead master, secret networks of laboratories and secret bases, and absorb the knowledge for himself, and by extent Konoha because he was still a shinobi here. He would have wanted to do it openly, however, they feared the knowledge that his master had come across. People had gotten the idea that scientists was something inherently bad that would make you go on a rampage and kill babies and kidnap children. Since his master's death a few weeks ago, Naruto has been fending off accusations and random talks of hate towards the scientist department that he was now the leader of. At some point, Hokage was forced to remind the people that assaulting shinobi factions was an act of treason. Fortunately, it has never resulted into violent, lethal force, but some of the more hater-mongers have spent time in prison. As Naruto made his way toward the science department, a small rectangular building near the outer skirts of the city. As he opened the door, he was met by one of the assistants, a shrewd young boy, 15 years old, who Orochimaru had rescued from the medical program. His name was Kabuto Yakushi. "Hey sensei," he said to Naruto. "Good you came," he said, holding a clipboard in his hand. "We had some problem isolating the latest components batch in the samples. I'll be with you in a minute," said Naruto as he wondered what happened now as Kabuto left. The boy was only a few years younger than Naruto and he was very sharp, not to mention his skills as a scientist, a medical ninja and a fighter. As Naruto did not know what his master intended to use Kabuto for, but he was glad that he drafted him towards his cause. With a dozen people like Kabuto, he could revolutionize the department. As he made his way up the stairs before he stepped into his office, consider that he was a leader of an entire branch of Konoha shinobi forces. It was a joke. The room was no bigger than anyone else's, about 6 square meters all in all, and with shelves lining the wall, making the actual usable space about 3. A desk with an office chair and computer sat at the far end of the room, displaying several windows of data. As Naruto placed his takeaway lunch down, as he grabbed the white coat, he really wished he could get some more space. They were cramped like hell here. As he made his way towards the second lab where most of the scientists here spend their time, as he headed left and pushed open the door at the end of the lab, as he tore a pair of rubber gloves and placed them on, there were several other scientists around, as Kabuto stood by a small white table. "So what do you have?" said Naruto as he came up beside Kabuto. "I was able to determine the sort of poison. It's a necrotoxin as we thought. However, the real issue is the carrier of the toxin." "Do you know what it is?" said Naruto. Necrotoxin meant that it was a poison that attacked the cells and killed them within the area of infection. In its wake, this kind of poison left nothing but rotten and dead flesh. If severe poison had taken place, amputation was the only choice, because only the greatest of medical ninjas could resuscitate dead flesh. That's the problem. If I'm reading this correctly, it's not anything inherent to the carriers, it's a pathogen found in their bloodstream." "What?" said Naruto. "I've got the enzyme analysis, the bacteria cultures and the results, the DNA analysis right there," as he pointed to a pile of documents on another desk, as Naruto picked it up and started to look through them. Almost the very same day that he became head of this department, a clan of bloodline users started to make a mess in the eastern part of the Fire Country. These shinobis were bloodthirsty and ruthless sorts, seemed to commit to chaos for just chaos' sake. They have left a trail of dead and massacre in their wake. This clan used a strange bloodline limit that involved their blood, which was a deadly poison that already claimed 3 Konoha ninja life. The science division was able to get a hand of a couple of corpses, and they're working around the clock for a month now, trying to understand their biology and the poisonous juice they use. And if what Kabuto discovered was true, then it had some extremely important, interesting complications. As Naruto went through the pile in a few minutes, once he was finished, he sighed. Kabuto was right, it was a pathogen, a bacteria that was foreign to their bodies. That was the cause of their blood being lethal. It does make sense, right? Said Kabuto, as he sat down. It does. Partially at least, said Naruto. It's a chakra bacteria perhaps. The bloodline limit evolved as a defensive reaction to a disease of sorts, and the bacteria became a part of its natural bacteria flora. Perhaps they are merely carrier of the disease, and the technique they use are merely simple techniques from their clan. Perhaps their bloodline limit take the shape of their immunity. That's quite an assumption, Kabuto said. Still, we don't know how bloodline limit emerge. So perhaps Naruto cut him off. What is relevant is how we use this. Okay everyone, he called out, gathering your attention. We must isolate the agent. As Naruto stepped towards the chalkboard and started to draw on it. It's a blood-based pathogen, simply a part of their natural flora. This is a chemical composition of the radical agent. In only a few seconds, Naruto was finished, scribbling it all down. And now we need to use this to create a weapon against them. Antidotes that will remove their inherent immunity. Whatever you can come up with, cooperate all you need. I want a full page of ideas from each lab group within 48 hours. Get to it, said Naruto. Kabuto, inform the Hokage we isolate the nature of the bloodline. When you're back, you're with me. Yes sir, said Kabuto as he disappeared. If there was one thing Naruto valued highly, it was efficiency, and Kabuto aimed to please. It wasn't a matter of sucking up, but adapting flawlessly. The hard part was over. All they had to do now was wrap it up. Moments later, Kabuto did not like the spacious office of the Hokage, bigger than his sensei's office. Who gives Konoha so much back, and yet you gave him something like that? It was like a locker to sit in. The Hokage was behind his desk and there was a group of shinobi. As Kabuto recognized all of them, Hatake, Guy, Asuma, Tatsumi Inuzaka, they were all some top level shinobis. Am I disturbing something? Kabuto said. I can wait. No, come in. Said the Hokage, have you made any progress with the poison? We have, Hokage-sama, said Kabuto as he walked in and saluted the man. Namikaze sensei wanted me to report that we've managed to isolate the radical agents and determine the origins. Keep going, said Minato. Despite Kabuto not really focusing much on the relationship, he could tell that the man was always laid bare when it came to Naruto. After some extensive tests, we have determined that the cause of the toxin is not the blood itself, but a pathogen that rests inside the blood, Kabuto explained. They are carriers of a bacteria that we've never seen before. Namikaze-sensei theorized that the bloodline is just merely a combination of their immunity to the poison and their clan techniques that has developed to make use of the natural bacteria that has become a part of their bloodline. Impressive, Asuma said. That explanation makes a lot more sense. Thank you so much, sir, said Kabuto. We are currently revising methods to combat the poison, and we will have a list ready in 2 days. In case you want a copy, either we will start to produce what solution we've got done in a week. Thank you for your hard work. Be sure to pass on my congratulations to Naruto as well. I'm sure Namikaze-sensei will be gladdened by the Hokage praise, said Kabuto. Now came the part he was looking for. How is he doing, said Minato. Out of protocol, he asked Kabuto about Naruto. This was a father asking about his son. He's doing fine, sir, Kabuto said. As Kabuto was just gonna make it more painful. Without a family or anything else to be a distraction, he's devoted everything to this job. And I can safely say, it's been an honor to work for him. As the Hokage flinched, Kabuto's words about not having a family cut him right in his soul. As Kabuto bowed his head, too easy, he thought to himself. Is there anything else? He asked. No, dismissed, said Minato. Yes, sir. We'll keep up the good work. With that, he turned and left the room, leaving a devastating Hokage and 4 Jonins who suddenly felt awkward. As Kabuto shut the door and he walked out, things like this was a way for him to show his loyalty. Like how the house cat will leave small presents left on the pillow of his owner. Kabuto wasn't a cat, however. His craft was mental, and with a small guilt trip like that, the Hokage would be much more malleable when funding about the department was discussed. The loving and sincere Hokage wouldn't be able to say no if him and his master played this well enough, and could give the man some subtle images about how his son was sent to work himself at a small underfunding, overworked department. as Kabuto smirked to himself rather happily before he sunshined back towards the lab. But guys, be and subscribe right here for this part, and do like, subscribe, comment down below, turn on that bell notification stay posted, remember share to all of your friends in social media platform, and also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new episode over on Anime Prince, Anime King 2, and Anime King 3. Yes, that's right, I indeed have 4 channels that I post what I fun every single day for guys. Enjoy, so go ahead and destroy that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all your helping and support. And yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode, guys? What am I saying? Let's get the hell out of here. See you guys soon. Peace.